Hey out there, legal warriors. Attorney-client privilege. That sounds like legal jargon, but it is so important. In this video, I'm going to explain what is attorney-client privilege, and I'm going to cover 5 pitfalls you may not have ever thought about that can violate attorney-client privilege, and so you no longer have protection. So if you're interested in this area of the law, stay tuned. This is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Linwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington state for more than 20 years, and I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people get the help they need. Now I'm just going to jump right into it. Attorney-client privilege. That is a very important protection for clients that will allow them to work fully and openly with their attorneys to accomplish their legal goals. Now, I'm a defense attorney, so in defense attorney land, attorney-client privilege is pretty important. You got to be able to tell me, did you commit a crime? What is the bad parts of your case, even though you didn't commit a crime? What happened? If whatever you told me, the police or the prosecutor could just force me to say what you told me, you wouldn't tell me anything, right? And then there's no way I could help you. And that applies to all areas of attorney-client relationships. The privilege is there to make sure that we can have open and honest communication so you can get the legal advice you need and you can feel comfortable that it's not going to get spread all over the news. And if an attorney does spread your stuff all over the news, then they're going to get disbarred, right? Because we have to live up to certain rules. And there's exceptions to rules that we will cover, but in this, I'm just trying to make you aware of 5 pitfalls to avoid and stuff you need to think about and maybe even ask your attorney about when it comes to whether or not your communication with your attorney will remain privileged. I think the most obvious one and the most important one is called third parties, right? If you are talking to your attorney with a third party present, I mean someone besides you and your attorney, and that sometimes is necessary. Your parent is there, a witness is there, your loved one is there. Somebody is there to sort of help you through this. You might be English as a second language, and you need someone to help explain. But technically speaking, if a third party is there, attorney-client privilege is blown at that point because a third party can testify to everything that you said, right? It's not privileged. There's no longer confidential because you have no privilege as it relates to that person. So in the real world, I want you to definitely talk to your attorney about what they think of whether or not it's okay to have a third party present for the type of conversation you're having. It varies. If you're only talking about things where you're totally innocent, then who cares? If you have something pretty sensitive, well, we can have that third party leave the room and then bring it back in later, right? A public defender is going to be probably much more strict than some private attorneys. It varies, but I want you to understand that a third party being present does create a risk that whatever you told your attorney is no longer confidential. Pitfall number 2. In Washington state, there's a crime fraud exception. The law doesn't protect communication between you and your attorney if it's for the purpose of committing a crime. So, mob attorneys, right? People that potentially are only talking about crimes, right? And they're going to say they never were. So it's sort of tough to penetrate the attorney-client privileges with the attorney in that case would deny, right? There's anything going on criminally. But you have to know that it doesn't protect, conspiring to commit crimes or frauds. And I think some politicians need to realize this, and that's not what this video is about. Lots of different examples of that out there in the world. But I want you to realize that it doesn't cover planning to commit a crime. Pitfall number 3 is a little bit like number 1, but it's one most people don't think about. What if you go out and you share the information, the privileged information that you gave to the attorney with a third party after the fact, right? You go talk to someone else about what your attorney told you. Well, that legal advice that they told you, which was confidential, that third person now knows, right? And the privilege doesn't go to the third person. So you've got to think about what you want to say or what you don't want to say to people in your life about your communication between you and your attorney. Now, there's the real world and there's the law school world, right? In the law school world, it's absolute, never ever do it. In the real world, it might be necessary. So I just want you to realize it's there. If your attorney gives you very specific legal advice and you go share that with someone else, there's no privilege to that third person. Pitfall number 4, don't go out threatening to do harm to others in front of your attorney. So it is communications about physical violence to another person is not privileged, right? We might have a duty, even as an attorney, to try to report that somewhere. Now, I don't think there's an affirmative duty in Washington State, but there's an option that if we think you're going to cause substantial bodily harm to someone, I'm not talking to slap in the face, you're going to go stab them, shoot them, stuff like that, that we have the option to try to protect the public, and that's there for good reason. That's going to be, us deciding, how real is the threat, what else can we do besides revealing that communication. So be careful for just, puffy and, hey, I'm going to go kill my neighbor, and you may not mean it. Well, if your attorney thinks you mean it, you could have a problem there with attorney-client privilege. And then number 5, this one is less obvious as well, but important, just to know non-legal advice. If you're just talking to your attorney out on the street, you see me walking around and you say, hey, Lance, I'm going to go have 4 beers. Okay. And later you get into an accident and you get charged with something. That may not be privileged that you told me I was going to go have 4 beers, right? Because it wasn't really for legal advice. You're just letting me know I'm going to go have some beers, right? So if the communication is not about the legal representation, it's not for the purposes of legal advice, then of course it makes sense it's not covered by attorney-client privilege. So I could probably be subpoenaed in that case and say, yeah, Mr. Client did tell me he was going to go have 4 beers, because how could I assert the privilege? He wasn't, in that case example, well, how many can I have before I'm drunk, Lance? Well, then maybe I can keep it quiet. And these are technical things, but they're things you need to know. So those are 5 pitfalls, but that's not all. It's one little bonus here. What does the attorney have to do, right? From the attorney's point of view, what are we supposed to do? Well, we're allowed and expected to share certain things that you tell us for purposes of your benefit. If it's impliedly authorized for us to talk about as part of the representation, well, then it makes sense, right? If I'm representing someone on assault and they tell me they didn't assault the victim, that client probably wants me to say to the prosecutor, my client didn't assault the victim. Where did that information come from? It came from the client. And it's not just communications we're not supposed to reveal unless authorized directly or impliedly. It's anything we learn, right, about the client from the purpose, from the representation itself, right? If I learn the client, has a secret life as at a dancer at a gentleman's club, and I'm not supposed to tell that to anyone, even though that's not a communication. I learned about it, like maybe I saw a pay stub or I saw something. I'm not supposed to tell that to anyone unless it's impliedly authorized to benefit the case, right? Not supposed to say, oh, by the way, did you know such and such does this also? And so there's some requirements on attorneys, and they are broader than just communication, but there's also some things that attorneys are allowed to do if it's to try to help your case, because that's why you're hiring us, is to try to help you. So we're not going to clear every little thing with the client, but we are going to remember to try to protect confidences and try to protect our clients as best we can. And everything varies state to state. People watch these videos all over the state, many states, all over the US, all over the world even. People have seen these videos. And so remember, always go to your local legal counsel. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments, which I encourage, that, hey, this is how it works here, or this is how it works there. This is educational in general, and specifically how things work in my state, Washington State. But remember, attorney-client privilege is there to protect you. You can talk freely to your attorney. Don't talk about committing crimes. Don't talk about harming others, because that could blow the privilege. If you have people in the room with you with the attorney, that may eliminate the privilege. If you talk to other people about what the attorney told you, that may eliminate the privilege. And again, privilege only covers stuff you're talking to us about for that representation, right? Not just seeing you on the street and it's not an attorney-client relationship and you communicate with us. So that does it. If you found it useful, please like, please subscribe. More people get the help they need. And more importantly, if you have a legal problem in Washington State, if it's a crime, we also do some protection orders. Feel free to reach out to my law firm. We'll listen to what happened. We'll identify a way forward. We will be there for you. Thank you.